Horror movies don't work with a Walther.
That's delicious there. Toolman, you and your honey. What would we call him? A honey aficionado? I don't know. He always comes in. He's like, I got this new honey that you have to try, and he gets all wound up about it because it's on a sugar rush.
This Nicaraguan local.
What is it? It's local Ecuadorian.
It's a local, not Ecuadorian.
Okay, that's enough of that. But it is tasty. Thank you.
Yeah.
He's my dealer. Hey, before I move on to anything else, we're going to be talking about former Vice President Joe Biden sitting down with the transgender TikToker, and I don't know when it's no longer fringe as far as puberty blockers for kids. But I want you really quickly, name me something in recent memory more ballsy than the UFC fighter Beneil Dariush, who, by the way, should get a title shot. He's on a 7-fight win streak. Promoting almost actively trying to convert the entire audience in Abu Dhabi. Comment that below. That just happened this week, and I was sitting there going, oh, wow, he's and I was like, wait, he's in Abu Dhabi. They're going to kill him.
That's where they ship Odie off to.
Yes. Well, you know what, though? That's how you measure a man's backbone, when he has something to lose. That's one thing to maybe do it in Kansas. To do it in Abu Dhabi? Boy, I hope that guy was armor helicoptered out. So we'll be talking about that. We'll also be talking, boy, did former Vice President Joe Biden have a really, really bad weekend. Also, remember Sacheen Littlefeather? We did the whole segment on her?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, where she came out and she was accepting the award for Marlon Brando.
For Godfather.
Yeah. All of that is complete horse crap. She wasn't even one part Native American.
Really?
Yeah, her sisters came out, said none of what she said was true. Oh. Now that she's dead, they're, I think what's it called? They're dishing?
Well, also the Tyr Native American guy?
Yeah.
Italian.
Really?
It's true.
Are you serious?
I'm serious, yeah.
Which is funny because you think we would. Have you ever been on a Native American reservation and you go, like there's a convenience store in northern Michigan,
I've
and you can clearly tell.
Yeah.
You're like, they look, there's a very strong look, and they're honestly a statuesque people.
Very much.
Her, I'm like, that's a white broad.
Yeah.
Part Mexican.
Yeah, there's a certain power that they have that it looks like they have.
Well, we suspected in the segment. We said, I don't believe her. Turns out we were correct. It was just a hunch, but now it's the truth. Gerald A., how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Great. Had a fun weekend.
Good weekend?
Yeah, watched the fights, and then it inspired a segment here today because he's still alive, Beneil Dariush. Good for him.
Well, yeah, so far as we know.
Yes. Yeah, we haven't heard much.
Thoughts and prayers.
I haven't seen a ton on his social media. And then, you know him, you love him, quickest man on his feet, the fastest man on his feet, quickest wit in the West. He and I are in Nashville, November 12th, Ryman Auditorium, the Rebels of the Cause tour. But there's only 2 shows left with tickets. One of them is the 9:30, the second show in Nashville, loudoutcrowder.com/tour. Dave Landau, how are you, sir?
Ahoy, good. How about you?
I'm okay, except for when we get to this watch and react.
Are we out of Baltimore?
I don't know. I don't want to
I
misspeak.
should throw that in. Sorry.
Yeah, we have no idea.
I didn't know.
Maybe there are tickets, maybe there aren't. By the way, scalpers who are buying them and selling them for like $400, $500 to $300, that's not us.
Not
Just so you know,
us.
it is not us, and I don't know how to control it.
I've even put links up when people have asked me on Instagram where to find tickets. You can go to Ticketmaster.
Yes.
And those places, legit places. Don't go to random places.
No, and it's really unfortunate because they're making all this money and they're ripping you off. We don't want to do that. Okay, so it turns out that Volodymyr Zelensky, he's not the only one capable of playing the piano with his member. Now, here's a twist. The person here, and this went viral this weekend, playing with their phallus is a beautiful and brave woman.
On TV, he's not gonna do stupid stuff like this.
Wait for it. Wait. Dong, dong.
I remember that in Big.
Yes. Well, there were two of them.
Yes.
Is she playing Chopdicks?
Yes.
Not yet.
No, I think she's playing Cockner. I don't know. Hey, but you know what? This beautiful and brave Marilyn Manson album cover here. Look, this happened on television.
Live TV.
Here's the real. I don't use the word offensive. It's the lack of talent is offensive. It's mediocre.
Yes.
It's just sitting there like, hey, I'm naked. There should be a dance. I mean, have you seen puppetry of the penis? They turn that into the Eiffel Tower. Like, they're actually putting in some effort. Give it the old college try. But this is something now on television, and we've talked about this. It's the the bigotry of soft expectations. And the left does this with race. The left does this with gender, with sex, with women, obviously, by lowering PT standards in the military and the police force because they believe that women, you're not capable of meeting the same standards. By the way, they are correct. And now we see it where if this was something that a straight white male would do, what would be a sex crime? Hey, just to see how far we've slipped, forgive the term here. Do you remember the Janet Jackson controversy?
Yeah.
The nipple slip? Let's compare that with what we just saw. Here. And there was a pasty, and I wanted to see the nipples.
And yeah, and nobody minded.
Well, everybody.
People did.
It was
Well, no, people did get upset. I should say nobody where I was at.
Right. But comparing that to what we just see, it's like, oh my gosh, we saw a nipple pasty. This is not age appropriate to mainstream television over there in Europe, a fallen continent at this point. A transgender individual with breast implants playing the piano with her penis.
Yeah, tickling the ivories with her soft penis.
Yes, well, we couldn't play the black keys. We don't want racism.
No.
Well, you can't reach them.
I mean, it really the size of that thing, it's like, well, good news. You're already mostly a girl.
Yes. You're partially there.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. No, you're right. I mean, it would be a sex crime. That person would have been hauled off in cuffs had it been a straight white male.
And should have
Was
been.
still male. Of
Honestly,
course,
I don't
nobody
know.
wants that either way.
We're pretty close. White, straight. Is that woman still attracted to? Is it a lesbian?
We
Is
really don't know,
she a lesbian? Sorry, I don't know how to navigate this. The point is, it's pure degeneracy, and we allow it just because someone decides to slap on a dress. Also, look, put in a little bit of effort. Don't blame us for being barely passable. It was like, oh, it's because society. Look, it looks like. I'm not saying it is. Looks like a man in clown makeup.
Well, and why are you clapping in the audience?
Oh.
You're like, yeah.
Everybody is like, I don't want to be outed as
I don't know
intolerant.
anymore how to react to things.
I sooner bought the laugh track and the Flintstones.
Yes.
I believe it was filmed from a live studio audience.
I thought it was. You just,
Every time.
just hurt me a little.
It's just all of this is fraudulent, and it really is. Right now, we are in a society where we are racing to victim status. And by the way, hit the like button, share if you're watching on YouTube. It helps with the algorithm. It's a live show Monday through Thursday at 10 Eastern, right? You can go watch it on Rumble. You can go on Mug Club, where we'll be playing. They don't make them like they used to. We're not allowed to do this on YouTube. And today, we are hitting some third rails.
All third rails.
All the third rails with her penis. Now,
Yes.
Sasheen Littlefeather,
Her penis.
we did a segment on this not too long ago, right? Because it was the anniversary and this was trending because everyone was furious with John Wayne because he gave an interview in a magazine that doesn't exist anymore. So Sasheen Littlefeather, remember, accepted the Academy Award for Marlon Brando. And there's some updates here, but for those of you who don't remember, let me refresh your memory of clearly Native American Sasheen Littlefeather, the Oscar speech in 1973.
Hello, my name is Sasheen Littlefeather.
It's
I'm
not.
Apache, and
You're
I'm
not.
president of the National Native American Affirmative Image Committee.
You're not.
I'm representing Marlon Brando this evening, and he has asked me to tell you in a very long speech, which I cannot share with you presently because of time, but I will be glad to share with the press afterwards, that he very regretfully cannot accept this very generous award.
He wrote it on a Burger King napkin.
And the reasons
Yeah,
for this
exactly.
being
That from his front
are
yard.
the treatment of American Indians today by the film industry. Excuse me.
Look at the fake
And
victim
on
face.
television, in movie reruns, and also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
Okay, so
The Wounded Knee. You remember when people took over a town?
Yeah.
The story that we covered.
Yeah, where they were executing.
They took over a town.
There was a guy who had it was a cop killer.
Yeah.
Anyway, we did a whole segment on that.
Yeah, she was actually talking about Marlon's Wounded Knee when he was running into Big Boy.
Yes. They still offer quality food at affordable prices.
They do.
Fantastic.
So here's what she had to say about her speech, also, by the way. And you may think it seems self-aggrandizing. Yes. I spoke my heart, not for me, myself, as an Indian woman, but for we and us, for all Indian people. I had to speak the truth. Whether or not it was accepted, it had to be spoken on behalf of Native people. Well, according to her biological sisters, Rosalind Cruz and Trudy Orlandi, none of that is true. She's not even Native at all. She's not Native American at all. So Orlandi said it's a lie. And she also, by the way, let me also preface this. I don't have this in front of me. She also claimed that her father was an Apache alcoholic. This is what sort of spurred them to speak out.
Gotcha.
Was she was really throwing her family, her parents, under the bus. Also, by the way, that's incredibly racist because she just picked a stereotype to make up a story. Like, yes, my
Right.
father's an Apache alcoholic. He can't handle his firewater.
Yeah, which is redundant.
Yes. So Orlandi said, it's a lie. My father was who he was. His family came from Mexico. My dad was born in Oxnard. And sister, I mean, you're not going to be a Mexican-American princess. You're going to be an American Indian princess. It was more prestigious to be an American Indian than it was to be Hispanic in her mind. And Cruz, the other sister, said, it is a fraud. It's disgusting to the heritage of the tribal people, and it's just insulting to my parents. Not only was her father not an alcoholic or abusive, her father didn't drink, he didn't smoke, and he didn't suffer from mental illness. The truth is that her grandfather abused her father, so she stole that story,
Wow.
sprinkled a little bit of racism in there to claim he was an Apache alcoholic, then claimed it as her own, and no one vetted it. So this is a couple of things here. We're going to get into, this is just another example in a long line of fake victimhood, because there's actually a net benefit to claiming to be a victim at this point.
Yeah.
Man, to be marginalized in 2022, boy, is it a leg up. Not only that, but you used to say, well, when the news used to be insert sort of romanticization, nostalgia here. It never was. They never vetted anybody. This woman went her whole life. It took her sisters after she died to come out and say, none of that was true. Her dad was a Native American. Her dad was an alcoholic. She is 0 parts Native American. Oh, and by the way, she said when we were young, we didn't have running water. They said we did have running water and we did have a toilet. Every single thing that she said was untrue, and it would have been very easily verifiable. No one wanted to do it.
Yeah, and I don't really give her sisters a whole lot of credit for 40-something years later coming out and being like, oh, yeah, it was a lie.
Yeah.
Couldn't you have, helped us all back then?
Right.
Would have been
Well, I
helpful.
can see, I guess I can see hiding it out of embarrassment because they just don't want anything to do with it.
Right.
But yeah,
They wanted to
good
clear
to
their
know.
parents' name, is what they said. They said because their
Yeah.
parents were run through the mud as abusive Native American parents, and it just wasn't true.
Would have been better while they were alive.
You would think so.
Yeah, but now they'll never know.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
true. They'll always.
Well, I don't know if he's Native and he believes in reincarnation. Oh, that's right. He's not that.
Oh, good. I feel like Marlon probably did that on purpose. He hated Hollywood. He was like, she's not Native American. He's like, yeah,
Pick her.
It's acting.
Elizabeth Warren's not ready yet. We'll get this one.
And,
He's like, wait till you see the future.
that brings us to this point, right? We've talked about the marginalization, the oppression Olympics. There's this presumption that, of course, it's a huge leg up to be a straight white male. Okay, before I go on to the list of fake victims here, let me ask you this, and I'd like for you to comment below. Genuine question. Just a gut feeling. Let's say you go in for a job interview, and you're a straight white male, and you have the exact same qualifications as black female, as trans individual, lesbian, or even just a woman. Heart of hearts right now, who do you think's getting the job? Assuming all other qualifications are the same. You really think they're going to pick the straight white male just because he's a straight, or are they going to try and fill a quota? It's a genuine question. I've always assumed that I have to be above and beyond, or they're going to pass me over because I don't check any boxes.
I'm sorry. The trans card is just such a trump card now. You could just wait to the very end. Sir, we just don't think you're qualified. But I'm trans.
For crying out loud, Dave took a leak on a tree and he's on a watch list.
Well,
I
that's
know.
true. Yeah.
Yes, it was in front of a playground, and yes, the school was in session.
Yes, it was the 8th time.
Wow.
Yes, and it was same school, same tree.
You shouldn't return to the scene of the crime.
No.
But lesson learned. This person does it on a national broadcast. Okay, I guess that's fine. So
It's totally unacceptable.
it's totally, completely unacceptable. And what do you think would happen if just a straight white male who was running, well, you know what? It would be Joe Biden, who lied about everything. I believe it was in 1988. They found out he plagiarized. They found out he didn't finish in the top of his class like he claimed. They found out he didn't get 3 degrees like he claimed. And guess what? That sunk his candidacy back then. He was a compulsive liar, and so he lost. This woman is she was a compulsive liar, and it took her passing, her parents passing, and finally her sisters to come out 40 years later for us to figure it out. Let's go through some other fake victims here. Remember Sean King?
Yeah.
Some of you don't.
I do. I remember the name.
Yeah, Sean. Yes. Sean
Thankfully
King.
enough, he's kind of gone away.
He's got Rachel Dolezal. You have Kamala Harris, who's faked a lot of it when she's talked about, black, white, Indian, Native American, maybe Native American. You have Elizabeth
Pacific
Warren,
Islander.
who claimed that she was part Native American. That was complete and total horse crap. You have Ariana Grande, who is Italian, like the Native American tier guy, right? She's tried to play up the ethnic card. Here's actually a side-by-side of her a few years apart.
What?
You have,
Wow.
She's white.
You have people who fake, and then, so we have that. There are a lot of examples of people who
Is she
completely
Hispanic?
fake.
Is that
She's
what-
Italian.
Oh, that's what I thought. Okay.
She's American Italian.
Boy,
That-
the Italians do this a lot.
Yeah, they do it.
As a half Italian, I got to say, I've never pretended to be Native American.
Well, because Italian really isn't a whole lot at this point. It doesn't check any boxes. You're basically
No.
a white guy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course you are.
And then-
racist, and you yell stuff outside of bars. At
Yeah.
minorities.
I mean, once
inside
upon
of
a
Brooklyn,
And the Irish.
Bensonhurst. Yeah, not fans.
And both of them, though, they share a common bond in their dislike of Jews.
Yeah.
Now, back in the day. So here's the thing. You have people who've completely outright faked their identity. Okay, again, that would mean there's an incentive to do so. But then you also have people who are either biracial or who do have a component of their ancestry, unlike Elizabeth Warren, who has none. And then, of course, they always try and identify with the marginalized portion of their identity, of the ancestry. And again, my only question here is, if it was such an advantage, if it was such a walk in the park, if life is easier when you're a straight white male or female, why is it that people continually identify with what would be perceived as the marginalized group if they're biracial? And I know what you're going to say. That's because society has already decided if you're, for example, biracial, half white, half black. But we're not just using those examples. You just saw Ariana Grande, Vin Diesel, whose mother is completely European, right? Has an adoptive black dad. He calls himself, quote, definitely a person of color.
Also,
Well, that's helpful.
The things I'm going to do for my country,
Yeah.
like lie about my 23andMe.
Yeah. You know what I'm going to go with? Vin Diesel.
Yes.
That's a good name.
Yes. First name Vin.
Last
Like the
name-
car? Like a car Vin?
Yeah.
well, yeah, it's diesel. I like
Yeah,
diesel.
like diesel.
trucks, and they got VINs.
Yeah, Diesel is like the gasoline. Vin is like the car.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
you get more torque with diesel.
Yeah. I'm very creative.
Yes. See, for proof, see Fast and the Furious 84.
Yeah. It's really as great as the other one.
The Asians love it.
Then you have Colin Kaepernick, right? On the other hand, he was raised by white parents, only claims his black heritage. Now, I know that you're going to say, well, that's because people would identify him. Look, get rid of the teased fro, okay? And people will be like, I don't know, Persian? Your guess is as good as mine.
You kind of fit in a number of different categories.
He's Abercrombie ethnic.
There you go. Yes.
He's ethnic enough, but, they would put him on a billboard because it doesn't intimidate white people.
Yeah, he's just enough.
He's just
He
enough.
also identified as a good quarterback for a little while. That didn't work out either.
Right, and then you have Barack Obama. He never called himself the first half-white president, even though he, was largely raised by a white grandmother. I mean, he's the least black guy who's been in that office. Let's be honest. Sarah Palin would have dusted him on the basketball court for crying out loud.
Well, I'm pretty sure Clinton was the blackest at the time. He
Yes.
played the saxophone.
On Arsenio Hall.
Yeah. He definitely came off a little more.
But this is a genuine question. It's something that cannot be observed
Not ghetto,
statistically.
wrong word.
So we'll make all of the references available at loudoscrowder.com for the examples. Again, it's a question to is anyone still buying this? That it is such an advantage to be a straight white male at this point? How many people are rushing to fake to be a straight white male? How many people out there are biracial? Or how many people out there who could, I guess, more conveniently pick a portion of their ancestry saying, yeah, I'm just Irish American? You never see it. And I know before you say, oh, but society has forced us to conform to, no, that's not true. Especially when you look at the entertainment industry and you look at the representation in the media, in the entertainment industry, and we're not just talking racially, we're talking LGBTQ, right? All of this, there's a higher percentage of representation of all minority groups in all of our media, and I don't have a problem with that if it's a meritocracy. But at this point, why are people constantly rushing to lie to you if It is, in fact, so much more difficult to be a Native American, so much more difficult to be a black man, Vin Diesel, so much more difficult to be, what is Ariana claiming to be?
Italian?
No, that's what she is.
Well, she is Italian, but she's really playing it up, I guess.
I thought she was pretending to be Hispanic.
Is she?
I thought.
Grande.
Was she the one who also pretended to
Well,
change the
Grande's also
genders,
Italian.
saying I'm gender neutral, and then went back? Was that Ariana Grande, or was that the other one who looks like Ariana Grande, but isn't Ariana Grande? You know who I'm talking about? There's Ariana Grande, and there's the other one who's not. Who am I talking about? You guys know what I'm talking about?
We need Gary to.
Oh, someone knows.
Demi Lovato?
Demi Lovato. That's it.
Yeah.
They're the same person.
Pretty much.
Have you ever seen them in the same room together?
Nope.
Just saying.
One's Ariana's I think a little more appealing.
Who's the one who licked the donuts and said, "I hate America"?
That was Grande.
No,
That was Grande.
Why did you know that so quickly?
We talked about it on the show.
Yeah, we talked about it on the show. She licked donuts,
Oh, that's right.
chastised the server, and said, "I hate America."
I don't know. You see Ariana Grande lick donuts, you never forget it.
Yes.
Oh, jeez.
That's the kind of event that sticks with you. So, my point here is this. The people who have fake backbones, right? I'm standing up for Native Americans. You're not Native American. I'm standing up for people of color. You're not a person of color, Vin Diesel. Let's compare that to someone with actual brass, pendulous balls. You may not know this guy. Just go with me here for a second. There's a fighter in the UFC named Beneil Dariush. Now, I know you'll see him and you'll think, hijacker? But the irony here is he's actually Iranian American. He's a Christian, which again, that in and of itself, they had to flee Iran. That's someone who has a family. They had something to risk. They had something to lose. So he's a Christian Iranian American. Okay. And I watched the fights this weekend, which were fantastic. And we often have some friends who are fighting. If you've watched the show, we've had them on the show. He gave a speech. And there's always, a component of obviously a risk if you go out and you make a very, I should say, on-the-nose Christian acceptance speech. It's not very accepted in the entertainment industry. They're significantly more forgiving in the UFC. But then it dawned on me that he gave this speech in Abu Dhabi. For context, watch this.
For the winner by unanimous decision, Beneil Dariush.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here with Beneil Dariush. Beneil, once again, man, you always step up to fight. It does not matter who. How good does it feel to get a victory over a young, up-and-coming fighter like Mateusz Gamrot?
I'm sorry, Dana, but I got to take a minute. I need to dedicate this fight. My people in Iran, I know you're struggling. I know you're fighting for freedom. I know it's a tough struggle. I want you guys to know we're praying for you and we love you. Let me tell you one more thing. This might be the most important thing you'll ever hear. There is true freedom, a freedom that no one can take from you in the name of Jesus Christ, the Son of God. Don't ever forget that. If you remember one thing I say, remember that.
Honestly, that's pretty articulate considering his brain was just scrambled and bounced off the mat like a basketball.
But it's pronounced Iran.
Yes.
Iran.
Ariana Grande is Italian American.
Italian.
So keep in mind, Iran is 99% Muslim.
Good for him, though.
UAE is 76% Muslim. That's the crowd there. And I don't know if you know this, because I know we've talked about how awful, the Christian history is, the Western Christian history. Muslims, and they have this thing called Sharia law. And in a lot of these countries, if you convert, or if you're trying to convert from Islam, they murder you.
Get out of town.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you try to convert anybody else, and I'm not sure
They double murder
that
you.
Abu Dhabi's like throw you off a building if you're gay Muslim, but it's
No.
very close. Iran for sure is.
Yeah. Well, they still have indentured servants in Abu Dhabi. People don't
Do
realize
they?
that. That's slavery. Yes.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
in
the modern day
Qatar,
slavery that
yes.
you're talking about.
Excuse
Yeah.
me. It's low-paid slavery.
Yes, it's low-paid slavery. It's the people who work the donut counter that Ariana licks.
Yes.
Well, they pay extra.
No, a lot of people don't realize this about UAE. A lot of people don't
Slavery.
realize that the laws that still apply often to women in UAE. I had a friend who
Yeah.
competed at Abu Dhabi in it's this prestigious grappling tournament, and she had to walk around the building. I don't know if this is still the case today. This would have been maybe 6-7 years ago. She had to walk behind all of the men because you weren't allowed to walk in front of them at that point. It's not exactly what you think. You go and you go, oh, look, they have a fake scheme out. No, isn't that? No. Hold on a second. There really is an underbelly there that is still not only unfair to women, but is incredibly fascist in a lot of ways. And this exists in every single majority Islamic country, and it has since the beginning of Islam, just to be clear. It's not the same thing because there is a system of laws, by the way, that require punishment. For those of you who don't know, this is when Ben Carson got in a lot of trouble. He said, I believe that Sharia law is incompatible, or the Quran is incompatible with the Constitution. Because unlike the Bible, there's a system of laws that are prescribed, which is not just, hey, convert or you'll go to hell in the afterlife. It's convert or you die. If you are Islamic and you convert, if you're Muslim and you convert to Christianity, you die. If you try and convert anywhere else, you die. If you don't convert to Islam, if you are someone who happens to have already been a Christian, for example, in the native land, you are subject to dhimmi, which means you have a curfew, which means you have to pay a poll tax. It's a second-class citizenship. There is a system of laws that exist in the Islamic world. And by the way, with Benil Dariush, a name like that and a face like that, tell me that you didn't expect that voice.
Did not at all. And by the way, if that's the only thing that he had ever said about the subject, he's never going back to Iran. That's enough for Iran to put out a fatwa against him. Basically, the thing that Pakistan did against you. I think it's still active, by the way. We'll have to see if we.
Thanks for bringing that up and drawing attention to
need
it.
to renew it or not.
Yeah.
10-year renewals on those things. No, but I mean, it literally is death.
You're a regular travel agent, Gerald.
It's death for him and death potentially for his family. At the very least, they would be social outcasts in the community. So, I mean, it was a huge. People were like, oh, whatever. He said, no. That's life-changing.
Yes.
Life-changing for him and his family, potentially.
And not to mention, as far as popularity, right, there is some influence in the UFC. When you look at Abu Dhabi, right, they have this deal with Fight Island. And this guy is on, I believe, a 7-fight winning streak. It's either 7 or 8. He was a hot and cold fighter, and right now he just broke into the top 5. He's unbelievable if you haven't watched him. And it is criminal that he's not getting a title shot. I don't mean actually criminal. I mean figuratively. So comment below if you were familiar with it, and if you, show Benil Dariush some support. I'm sure we can find his social media handles. By the way, just kind of as a briefing here, in Iran right now, they're currently engaged in these massive protests against this, dictatorship of the Ayatollah. And I believe the Ayatollah is still on Twitter, Facebook. Can we get you guys to confirm that? Yeah. They removed Donald Trump while he was president. Protest started, by the way, after a 22-year-old, her name was Mahsa Amini, died while she was in the custody of Iran's morality police. That's an actual thing. And she was reportedly arrested for breaking hijab rules. They claim something else. It hasn't been entirely consistent, but it shouldn't matter. No one should be arrested by the morality police ever. We usually use it as a figurative thing here, like, well, who are you, the morality police? Yes.
Exactly.
What morals do you have to enforce? Oh, they're not very moral.
No.
Only their morality. We can do whatever we want and get away with it, but if a woman goes without a head covering, that's a line in the sand, buddy.
Well, here's something. We have a clip coming up here, really. Oh, still on Twitter.
Still
Lovely.
on Twitter.
Just not wanting to see a woman's body is weird to me.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm going to say it.
Well, it's immodest, they say.
I can't be trusted. I see a little bit of ankle. It's off to the races.
No.
What happens if I see the nape of her neck? Oh, boy, I'm going to be playing the black keys. I can reach.
Now get my 9-year-old driver boy so I can rape him.
Yes.
Exactly.
No homosexuality.
No.
It's just a power move.
Right. Yes.
It's a power move.
I give, never take.
It's
and
not
if
gay.
you find that offensive, look into it.
Yes, look into it. Remember when Ahmadinejad, and the guy who looked like Jake Gyllenhaal with a terrorist beard, he claimed that they didn't have any homosexuals in Iran?
Yeah.
None.
Well, yeah, because you all do it in secret or you kill them.
Yeah.
Yes. It's a self-solving problem.
Yes.
So all the people of Iran, when people today say, hey, if I would have gone back in time and I look at what happened with slavery, I would have done something. There's more slavery right now on Earth than ever throughout human history. 40-something million slaves. We've talked about that. But when people say, oh, you know what? I would have done something to protect the marginal. Right now, you want to act like that person on Channel 4 playing the piano with her penis is marginalized. But there are people right now dying today. And I don't mean freedom of speech just here, like in what you mean, the freedom to say offensive things. I mean freedom of speech simply to wear clothes, simply to speak as a non-Muslim. That's the baseline we're talking about. Protesters in Iran have been burning hijabs, have been cutting their hair. And by the way, these people, again, the measure of a man or a woman is what do they do when they stand to lose something. And these people stand to pay with their lives.
Good for them.
Yeah. they're standing up all over the place against this stuff. But
Yeah.
there was an Iranian climber who was called up to climb early. This was going around, I think, 2 weeks ago, something like that. And she wasn't ready, and so she didn't have her head covering on, and so she had to climb in a competition without it, and was immediately met at the airport when she got home into her home country.
Gift basket?
No, I think it was the same morality greeting committee.
Gift casket.
Yes, exactly. I mean, beating women who don't have head coverings, at the very least, that's what happened to this woman who was in custody, and then complications arose from that. I don't know the whole story, but it's entirely likely that they just, went way, way, way too far beating her, and she was not able to take it.
Right.
And died because of the injuries.
Yep.
You should, I understand cultural differences. I get it. You want to enforce a rule that this is your culture, fine. I disagree with it. That's why I don't live there and I'm never going to go there. But beating people for that reason?
Wasn't she a child? Like, she was a teenager, right?
22, 23
Oh,
years
she was
old.
very young?
she's
Okay,
very
I knew she was young.
But here's the thing. Iran has always had this kind of running through it, this desire for freedom. It has always been there, especially amongst the young people that want to protest. All the United States needs to do is to stand up and say, we support you. That's it.
Yeah.
And right now, I know politicians have said, we stand with people who are in Iran. No. Ayatollah Khomeini, you're off Twitter. You think you should be able to wipe out the entire country of Israel and Jews should be pushed into the sea. Your words, not mine. And you guys have no right to tell women that they can't do that. No right whatsoever. The United States stands behind you. Right there. There you go. Mass protests erupt in Iran. Problem solved.
Isn't it kind of interesting that we talked about Ukraine and Russia, where it's just one corrupt crap hole versus another corrupt crap hole, and obviously my heart goes out to the people, the innocent people who are affected by this. But then we're dealing with people who are actually, creating an uprising against what is unilaterally agreed upon as a corrupt government, a government that is, government in the loosest sense of the word.
Yeah.
You're talking about a place where human rights don't exist, and we're not sending dozens or now maybe hundreds of billions of dollars, depending on how you do the creative accounting, to help any of these people. We're not really doing anything.
Yeah, and every time Israel launches airstrikes to make sure that they can't develop nuclear weapons, to set them back in their development for that, we kind of stand on the sidelines and maybe wag our finger a little bit or stay silent. And it's like, no. Be like, yeah, hell yeah. We sent them in there. We told them, like, look, we've got the intelligence, go. Right. Every single time. Why are we playing around with these guys?
Well, that's also, again, why this guy, Benil Dariush, I have all the respect in the world for him. And this is actually the biggest controversy since, I don't know if you guys remember this, but there was a guy named Yoel Romero, terrifying, built like he's one of those guys, he won a medal in the Olympics, he's from Cuba. No one actually knows how old he is.
Yeah.
And he doesn't really speak English, and he tested positive, but to be fair, it was a tainted supplement, but he looks like an action figure. And this was after Ireland had the gay marriage ruling or whatever happened there, but I don't know if it was a referendum exactly. And he went up and in this heavy accent, he caught all this flack because he said, what happened to you, USA? No for gay. Hey, no for gay Jesus. And everyone's like, does he say gay Jesus? Not gay Jesus? He was trying to say, don't forget Jesus. Mm-hmm. I think, do we have the clip? They're telling me we have a clip. Okay, let's roll this clip.
Hey USC, hey Miami, hey Florida. Listen, people, listen. What happened to you, USA? What happened to you? What's going on? You forget for the best of the world. The name is Jesus Christ. What happened to you? Wake up, USA. Go back for you, go for Jesus. No forget Jesus, people.
That's it.
No forget Jesus.
Eric Dana White was like, you should keep your politics at home. He's like, no, I don't say forget. I say no forget Jesus. Yeah, you're saying not forget Jesus. No, USA, I say no forget.
No forget Jesus.
Yes, that's what we're hearing.
No forget.
No, at USC. He's doing colleges now.
Who's gay Jesus?
Hey, UCLA.
Are those the only two you know?
hey, Arizona State.
Just pick terrible one.
Every night, he's praying like, I didn't mean to say you're gay, Jesus.
I meant to say no for gay. He's not gay. That's I say for you. No for gay. And then the most terrifying thing, that guy's built, right?
Oh, yeah.
And he was about to fight Michael Bisping. It was terrifying. He was on a tear. And they have Michael Bisping in the balcony, and he's motioning him like, giving him the finger, let's fight. And it's even scarier because he just turns to him and goes, hey, Michael Bisping, I love you. And you're like, oh my God.
Why'd you say that?
Are we about to witness a sex crime?
Like,
I love you, Mike.
You seem to have two very different stances.
This is much more intimidating.
Hey, I have split personality, USA.
I don't want to gay Jesus, but I like gay me and you.
Yes. I know forget Jesus, but put in the clause when I'm with Mike, I love you. 50 Shades of no forget Jesus.
Mike forfeits the match.
Mike would like to go gi.
So yes. So, but again, my question to you is, what have you? And this is just kind of a conversation. What have you done when you've had something to risk? Now, you can comment that below. When have you? We get these chats all the time on Mug Club, like, "Oh man, I might get in trouble in my job." I think it's time for everyone to start taking some risks, because that guy out there is facing life or death consequences. And the fact that you might get called to HR, because you have a study Bible in your desk, really doesn't mean all that much to the guy upstairs. So we're going to move on here to.
Boo! Boy, landlord, this show really feels like the Titanic.
Because it's a sinking tragedy?
No, because all the women and children have clearly long since left.
I haven't seen such a sausage fest since the Folsom Street Fair.
Only they had better physiques.
And jokes. Have you heard the one about the Folsom Street Fair tranny who confused the birth control for the Prev pill?
No. What happened?
Well, the good news, he didn't get pregnant.
Prev pill, that help you, Gerald?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's. Okay. I don't know why we give him the balcony.
I thought we took that down, but I did realize it's still there.
No, it's still there.
What is
I
he
try not to look
insinuating
at
by
it.
that?
I think you know exactly what he's insinuating.
I think you know what he meant.
No forget, Gerald.
I'm not.
Gerald.
I guess I'm still.
Can you
gay.
imagine? Can you imagine if that guy saw the Folsom Street Fair?
Oh, he's just
like,
Hey!
he's
No
yelling,
for dick!
yells gay Jesus, 8 guys turn around.
No for have sex on floor!
Yeah.
You can't have sex in the street! And then poop in the street! What happened, San Francisco, USA?
He says we can have sex and poop in the street.
No! I say, hey, no!
He says, let's go.
He's just the most misunderstood man in America. If you haven't seen it, it's bone-chillingly scary. All right, hey, we just had so many segments we wanted to hit from this weekend. Former Vice President Joe Biden, he's kind of giving us more fodder. Oh, boy. He's giving us more
one thing he's not.
Yes, that's one thing he's not. Until it comes to shower time.
Yes.
Former Vice President Biden is
more
now
of
on
a
the
human
campaign.
loofah.
Yes, he's on the campaign trail, and he's trying to help candidates. And like, that's okay, stay home. And so he's on the road quite a bit. And of course, the more you see former Vice President Joe Biden, just the worse it is for him. So that brings us to This Week in Biden.
If you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
I have not made that formal decision, but it's my intention. My intention to run again. And we have time to make that decision.
Dr. Biden is for it. Mr. President. Oh.
Dr. Biden thinks that, my wife thinks that we're doing something very important. But I think the best way to make the judgment is to watch me. Am I slowing up? Don't have the same pace? Or, and that old joke, everybody talks about the new 70s, 50s, and all that stuff. It could be, I'm a great respecter of fate. I could get a disease tomorrow. I could, drop dead tomorrow.
And will people who have privately held loans, will they at some point become eligible for this forgiveness because they no longer are?
We are working on pathways there to support those, but we're moving as quickly as possible to provide relief to as many people as possible. Thank you.
Should there be any restrictions on abortion at all? Any restrictions on abortion at all?
Yes, there should be.
What should they be?
And Roe v. Wade. Read it, man. You'll get educated.
How would you say your mental focus is?
Oh, it's focused. I haven't. Look, I have trouble even saying to myself my own head the number of years. I no more think of myself as being as old as I am than fly. I mean, it's just not, I haven't observed anything in terms of, There's not things I don't do now that I did before, whether it's physical or mental or anything else.
Wait, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
We're all going to die.
Yes.
Yeah, I think he's on, what, adrenochrome and Xanax?
Yes.
And then cocaine for uppers.
Yeah, like, I
guess.
just don't understand. He's like, the old saying that 50's the new 70. That's great. Thank you. I was worried for a second.
Yeah, it's the other way
now
around,
I'm actually
Joe.
terrified.
It's also not relevant because you're 90.
Yeah, it's also not an old saying.
Yeah. It's not even a new saying.
Yeah.
One could argue it's not a saying.
Please tell me you're not the one negotiating to keep a nuclear bomb from going off in Ukraine right now. Please tell me.
Just his body language. Honestly, my heart does go out to the former Vice President Biden as someone who has had people in the family who've suffered memory loss. And I'm not a doctor. I'm not diagnosing them, but I do see the same kind of signs that I've seen with Alzheimer's in my family.
Yeah.
Could be dementia. I mean, I had a relative who would just ram people with shopping carts. This guy was a professor. This guy...
It's just fun.
Yeah, but
And
then
you're
when he
old
was
and you get away
older,
with it.
it was a totally different person, and he laughed his ass off. He was back to his childlike state. And where's his family, though? Who I'm angry with, his family. People who are supposed to be looking out for him. He'd be better off growing his nails and pissing in jars in his home theater.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He's like the old guy at, like, your old relative at a family reunion where 2 minutes into the conversation, you're like, great to see you, Uncle Joe.
Yeah.
I'm going to go because this is making me uncomfortable.
Right. You'd be slightly uncomfortable, except you're angry for the fact that he's so handsy.
Yes.
Well, I love
Could you just let go of my daughter so I can go get some food?
It's a doll, Joe. Stop sniffing the doll, okay?
He's trying to bring it back to life like Annabelle.
Yeah.
No, I love in that interview where he's like, well, just, I understand. He was saying that criticisms of somebody that maybe is getting older and starting to lose a step, they're fine. It's fine to criticize that. But he goes, but just look at me. Look at what, have I lost a step?
Yes.
And then we played like all these clips and it's like, yes, you should never have said, just look at what I'm doing because what you're doing tells us you might be 25th Amendment.
Oh,
yeah, but I've had people say, like, well, I just feel bad for him. Like, I just think that we shouldn't be like shaming him for that, for getting older. And it's like, he's the president.
Yes.
I'm not
like,
shaming
that's the
him.
problem
Yes.
we should be able to talk about. If he was anyone else, fine.
We shouldn't have to put Cheerios in the bowl for when the president pisses.
No, it's
I have perfect aim.
I got to hit those little O's.
Just for breakfast, the doctor,
You can't do that.
The doctor gave me Cheerios, squash banana.
Kamala can't do that. I know for sure.
SpaghettiOs. What?
What did you say?
Apple Jacks. They don't taste like apples.
Oh, boy.
We eat what we like.
And cut.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, he's the leader. He's a former vice president.
Yeah.
Leader of the free world. If you can't shame someone for being wholly incapable of doing their job, and by the way, when did criticism become equated with shame? This is the brilliant ploy, right? They go, shame is bad. No one should feel shame. Some people should feel shame.
Yes.
Plenty of people should feel shame. And then criticism is not the same as shaming somebody. We're not shaming former Vice President Joe Biden because he is maybe suffering from memory loss or clearly he's lost a step. We are saying he is wholly incapable of doing the job that he was fairly and freely elected to. You can be compassionate, but also be furious with the current state of affairs, his handlers, the party, the platform that has thrust him there, and his family who are just hangers-on, who are not looking out. Who's looking out for dad, for husband, for none of them are going to come out and tell the truth? That's an evil, evil family. Could you sit back and watch if your dad was going through that?
Never.
Could you sit back and watch and say, yeah, give him a power saw?
I would no, but if I was his family member and he was running for president, I would come out and torpedo his campaign. Like I'm sorry, I would come out and be like, look, he's lost a step. It's okay. Right. He was the vice president of the United States. It's a great achievement. You were in politics your entire life. You suckled at the government teat. Maybe not the best achievement in the world, but you did it. Right off into the sunset as a quote-unquote powerful vice president who told the Ukrainian people they weren't getting money unless they got rid of a prosecutor going after your son's business.
Right.
Right. But still, if you were in the family, I think you would come out. You wouldn't say all the horrible stuff he did.
Yeah, well,
but you would just go, look.
It's a different part of the brain. Like my grandfather on my dad's side, he had a stroke.
Yeah.
He couldn't speak at all, but he could sing happy birthday.
Right.
It's the same with former Vice President Joe Biden. He can still do corrupt things.
Yes.
It's the left brain, right brain.
He can still collect money and know the exact to the penny what he's supposed to get.
The underage shower massages, it's a totally different, but it's not the frontal lobe.
Yeah, but then they have to remind him not to eat an ice cream cone upside down.
He's the only guy who gets brain freeze before he eats ice cream.
Just looking at the ice cream cone.
What is this?
He fell asleep during a live interview, guys, and you know they gave him that interview at like 9 a.m. or something.
Right.
Because he's the leader of the free world from 5 a.m. to 1 p.m., but after that, he's no good to anybody.
Well, 1 p.m. is dinner time.
Well, that's true. Bedtime's
That's very
2
true.
p.m.
Bob Evans, they're waiting for him at 1:53.
And here's how you know he's a puppet. Because if you look at what former Vice President Joe Biden said, I mean, not only was he racist, but you look at how he was actually kind of more traditional as it related to the LGBTQAIP when he was trying to portray himself as a practicing Catholic. That's completely out the window. So this brings us to this other story here, where former Vice President Joe Biden sat down. This is going everywhere, viral everywhere, for all the wrong reasons. A transgender TikTok activist. Say that 3 times fast and then try not to throw up. Dylan Mulvaney, not to be confused with Dermot Mulrooney or Dylan McDermott, and I still think they're the same person.
Yeah, they are. Have you ever seen them in the same room? That's a true thing.
Exactly.
I've always thought the same thing.
I don't know. One was in 4 Weddings and a Funeral. One was in The Practice, an American Horror Story.
Which one has more talent and range?
I don't think either.
Exactly.
So
it's the same dude.
TikTok activist Dylan Mulvaney.
I'm mad about it.
And the former vice president sat down to discuss. The term now is gender-affirming care. Let me be really clear as to what this means. Gender-affirming care means transitioning young children, which we were told was a fringe theory, and I'll get to that in a second. So former Vice President Joe Biden, with everything going on right now in the world, said, it's really important to sit down with a TikTok influencer to push the idea of transitioning children during an exclusive interview. Here's a clip. Sorry, wrong clip. I don't know how it made it into the TriCaster.
Sorry.
Do we have the right one?
Yeah, I got it now.
Here he is, former Vice President Joe Biden with Dermot Mulrooney.
And it feels like Republicans have turned trans and non-binary people into this thing to blame society's downfall on in some ways. And this narrative is not only dangerous to our mental health, but also our physical safety. And particularly trans women of color are being murdered at an alarming rate.
More than any other group of people.
Thank you. How can Democratic leaders be more effective in advocating for us trans people and our families and our lives and our opportunities?
I'm not being facetious when I say this, being seen with people like you. No, I mean it. I genuinely mean it.
Well, no one's cutting you off.
People fear what they don't know. They fear what they don't know.
He's reading prompter.
And when people realize, individuals realize, this is what they're telling me to be frightened of? This is the problem? People change their minds.
Do you think states should have a right to ban gender-affirming health care?
I don't think any state or anybody should have the right to do that. As a moral question and as a legal question. I just think it's wrong.
Well, look, first off, when they say, society blames their downfall, they're afraid of us. People fear what they don't know. I will tell you right there, I'm a little bit scared that the former vice president is sitting down with the bent neck lady. I do think that it's not necessarily the best. Raving psycho. And you know that story, right, where I fell asleep to the Christmas Yule log on Netflix
in a dark room.
Yeah. And then it decided to autoplay Haunting of Hill House.
And that's what you woke up.
My pulse has never been higher until I saw that interview. And don't think it's lost on me.
Your brain.
They had to pre-tape it. We're live right now. Just so you know, nothing up my sleeve. Let's go to CNN really quickly. Just show them what it is right now so you can see the clock. We are live right now. We do this without a net so that you can see this happening in real time. They had to make sure they pre-taped that and cut it and cut it and cut it and sanitize it.
Yeah.
And even then, it still doesn't make sense. No, I mean it. Let me finish. And she's like, I don't know. Who's not letting you finish? Let me stop. Hey!
Well, she has a video that she put out before, too, where she's like, I'm wearing the color of a trans flag. And she's going out and you're like, you're doing a stereotype of a girl.
Yes, exactly.
It's a little, it's kind of offensive, I think, to women.
It used to be, remember they made Barbie fat because these are offensive stereotypes.
Yeah.
And then they decide, of course, when you're talking about, take Caitlyn Jenner, take this individual as an example. It's, let's perpetuate the stereotype of what a woman should be. Well, now we're off to the races. And by the way, just for a little more backstory, who is this person? The Dermot Mulroney, Dylan McDermott. I know that's not the name, but that's what's going to pop into my head.
Yeah.
Who was interviewed by the former vice president.
Ta-da! Hot girl summer. Hot girl summer. day 75 of being a girl, and I've been carrying around tampons and pads for the past 2 months, but I've actually never opened one up. So let's do it.
Guys,
Woo-hoo.
your
I thought the
girlfriend.
letters stood for small, medium, and large based on the size of your Barbie pouch, but after a Google, I found out it's actually the level of your flow.
I thought Barbie was
forgot that
toxic.
My crotch doesn't look like other women's crotches sometimes because mine doesn't
All
look
the
like
time.
a little Barbie pocket.
It's a
And we
penis.
all just normalize women having bulges sometimes because we're coming up on bikini season, baby, and you might see a bulge or two. So normalize the bulge. We are normalizing the bulge. Women can have bulges, and that's okay.
Wow, it's like an incredibly disturbed Jack Black.
Why would you?
Look, Betty, girls. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking that girls shouldn't have a bulge. No! Any girl can have a bulge. Any girl can have a bulge. They'll have a bully balls.
They let that in the White House?
Yeah. why don't you just let some-
Bulge it. It's just, it is absolutely normalize the bulge for women.
Why don't you just let somebody with road flares tape to them into the White House?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, take away the trans identity thing. If a person had made videos like that, I'd be like, yeah, you're on a watch list for not coming to the White House or anywhere near where the president is ever going to be.
Yes. Yes.
And they're like, no, you do the interview.
The only time it might be appropriate to say normalize the bulge is if you're speaking to a bunch of women who've grown up next to a radiation plant.
Well, in the tampon video, she actually takes the tampon and puts it in water, which I actually did as a kid, and it filled the whole glass because I found one. My friend and I, we were in Canada, and it was out of a vending machine. And we were like, why would it fill the whole glass? But she does it. I don't know. She does it, and she pulls it out, and she's like, oh, it's for smaller flow. It looks like a beautiful butterfly. I'm like, what? This person's
because
not
I don't
well.
have a Barbie pouch? What? Where are you going to? You've been carrying around tampons.
How many stories have we covered where they want to get rid of Barbie, the left, because they think it's toxic? It's a negative female stereotype. It's just, this transgender individual, Dylan, whatever name she's. I'm not trying to use the right or wrong pronouns, okay? Yeah. I see the picture in front of me, and my brain can't compute it, so it messes me up. Just to be clear, before you accuse me of a hate crime. That looks like a man. It looks to most people like a man in makeup and leather pants.
Oh, if
Short
Trump
pants.
said instead of I grab him by the, if he would have said I like to grab him by the Barbie pouch, he wouldn't have been president.
No.
That's how creepy that term is.
And look, frankly, I'm open to all. I'm fine with. I like a good bulge in a lady's Barbie pouch, folks. Who doesn't like a good bulge? I've never come what, come on, no bulge or big bulge.
Hillary would have won in a landslide.
Well, Hillary is probably one of them who wants to normalize the bulge. And Mike Obama.
I'm just saying, that's so creepy. It's like you can't say that what somebody else says on the other side is wrong and evil when it's like they say that, and it's like that's a weird thing to say. Admit it.
Just
Barbie pouch,
right? And normalize women's bulges
and her penis. I'm sorry, I'm still stuck on that.
It's
the
summer.
person with boobs and a penis. I'm just like, I don't know. Okay,
It's summer, so some women have bulges. Yeah, what ones that are wrecked?
Excuse me, it's ma'am.
Okay.
Well, seriously,
and this is a perfect example of them hijacking. Women, please comment below and hit the like button if you're. I know a lot of you watching, listening right now are women. This person has now decided they speak for you. Lots of women have bulges. No, you have a bulge.
Lots of women can get erections.
Yes. No, you can get an erection. Let's be clear. Lots of women. I speak for women. Look, women do have their own issues. Of course, women have issues that are unique to women. I understand that just like men do, and some can argue women have more. Going into bikini season with a giant penis in your bikini is not chief amongst them for most women.
It's almost like it's not designed for that.
It's almost like it's been hijacked.
Almost.
So, and by the way, what's important about this is you have the former Vice President of the United States sitting down discussing gender-affirming care. And this is necessary because we've discussed this, Virginia law, right? States have to protect parents because we've talked about this, too, with same-sex marriage. Okay, when we went back, I never supported same-sex gay marriage, not because I don't think, of course, civil union, all the same property sharing rights, whatever. The problem is when you declare marriage a fundamental human right, you've now declared that men and women are fundamentally interchangeable, that children do not need both a mother and a father, or that it's not ideal, because that's why marriage laws exist in this country. So when I went back and I discussed this, where we said, look, there is an issue here. You're going to open up Pandora's box with the same-sex marriage as opposed to having civil unions, which, by the way, many gay people, you look at Elton John and Rush Limbaugh, agreed on that. No one was trying to, goaltend, reject gay people putting each other in the will. Now we're here with, they said, hey, what? You're just saying that adults can't make their own decisions? No one's talking about children. No one's talking about transgender children. Well, look, once you declare marriage a fundamental right, you've had in Canada, for example, pastors who've been jailed for saying they won't be involved with it because it violates their conscience, it violates their principles of their religion. What do you think is going to happen if you declare, as former vice president just said there, that no one should have a say? If it's a fundamental human right for a child to transition, now a parent not allowing their child on puberty blockers is violating their fundamental human rights. It's tantamount to abuse, and Child Protective Services can come and take your kids away, which, by the way, has already started happening depending on the state. Look behind you, there's a slippery slope. But you've been gaslit. Where members of the media and members of the entertainment industry have claimed time and time again that the LGBT agenda, that this normalizing with kids, that you're just crazy. That's a fringe point of view. You don't need to worry about it. Here you go. Here's proof.
So-called because opponents of gay marriage got nothing. And they tried everything, starting with the good old classic slippery slope.
He now supports
marriage equality
children
opponents
transitioning.
sometimes make a slippery slope argument. If we allow same-sex couples to marry, then why not polygamy? Why not incest? Why not bestiality?
But conservatives, such as Justice Antonin Scalia, warned for decades that the most basic rights for gay and lesbian Americans would put us on a slippery slope to legalize polygamy along with, and I quote, adult incest, prostitution, masturbation, adultery, bestiality, and obscenity. Those are the bits that Elizabeth warned you about.
Because no one back then predicted children on puberty blockers.
You should legalize prostitution. You should tax it and test the girls to keep them safe. That's where I stand. Dave for Whores 2024.
Wait, I'm serious.
This way Hunter can stop having him trafficked directly to his house.
Not a joke.
Just brings them in a giant cake every time, Under Siege. You don't have to do that every time.
Or just a big cartoonish Acme crate that he opens.
People know what you're doing. It's more fun this way.
Yeah. There's 8 alive ones and 2 dead ones.
Oh.
Just trying to keep it's the spice of life. You have to keep it a surprise. So here's the thing. They said, slippery slope. Now you have Jon Stewart saying that it's abuse to not allow children to transition. You have John Oliver. I'm willing to bet that every single person in that video supports transitioning children to some degree, and we know that every single member of the platform, the DNC, right now in this administration does. If anyone doesn't, we haven't heard them speak out. It's not a fringe point of view. He thinks it's just wrong for parents to protect their children from gender-affirming care, as they call it, and that means doctors coming in. That means surgeons coming in. That means social workers coming in saying, this isn't a tomboy. This girl is actually a boy, and you need to acknowledge their fundamental human right to exist. Well, sure, I acknowledge the right to exist, and that means thousands of dollars in surgery and in hormonal care.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
So what I'm going to say is, how did they actually avoided saying the word children or kids? Because if you're over age, you can go get this care on your own, right? I don't believe that there are any restrictions. Maybe some states have some kind of random miscellaneous rules. But they said gender-affirming care, not wanting you to think, they're talking about a 12-year-old. They're talking about somebody who has to have mom and dad's permission. They're trying to sneak this thing in under gender-affirming care in general. No. They're talking about kids.
Yeah.
And just won't say it.
Let me ask you this. Can a 12-year-old, and by the way, we're talking about kids as low as 4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
We've shown you the
I was trying to be generous.
Yes. But let's say, can a 12-year-old consent to sex? No. Okay.
What?
Does cutting off your penis or does sewing up your vagina, does it affect your sex life for the remainder of your life? Yes, we know that it absolutely does. In some cases, they can't climax for the rest of their life. Okay. Would a 12-year-old be allowed to get silicone breast implants if it was just a girl who said, other girls have bigger boobs than I do? Would that be considered good parenting? No, of course not. What about a young boy who wanted to get plastic surgery because he didn't like, at 9 years old, didn't like the way his face looked, felt self-conscious? Would you allow a 12-year-old boy, would you allow a 12-year-old Italian boy to get electrolysis on his trapezoids? Probably not. You'd probably say it's age inappropriate when they say, but actually I'm a girl. Oh, okay. $250,000 in hormonal replacement and, of course, in surgical care, which is completely elective and unnecessary. And by the way, we have the stats on this. We know that about 80, anywhere as low as 87, and there are older studies that are as high as 95. Let's call it 87%. That's the lowest that we have of children they completely grow out of. They completely grow out of thinking that they are trans if you just do nothing. The moment you give them puberty blockers, 0% grow out of it. So we go from 87% of kids growing out of it to 0%. By the way, that 100% in the case of kids with puberty blockers are now in a statistical pool, a reality of 42% attempted suicide rate. If any other scenario, whether it's living their true self, whether it's bulimia, whether it's anorexia, whether it's someone with body dysmorphia, if they were on the road to something that we know, beyond any shadow of a doubt, increases their risk of suicidal ideation and actually carrying out suicidal action to 42%, wouldn't you do everything as a parent that you could to stop them? But now the government wants to stop you. That is the most perverse encroachment of government that I can think of between the relationship, getting themselves between a parent and a child.
Yeah.
It's also not true self.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we all have to, when we live our true self, we all have to get, $500,000 in surgery to look like what we were meant to look like.
Yeah.
Because God doesn't make mistakes. But God made me looking like this, and my plumbing operates like this, so I'm going to correct all of God's mistakes.
Well, yeah, and the thing that makes you suicidal and hate yourself, that's definitely your true self.
That's your true self.
You don't want to go deeper and try to, find peace. You want the thing that makes you die, you want to glorify that.
No. It's society that makes them suicidal, even though it's higher than Jews in Auschwitz and American slaves. Something, target bathroom.
And it doesn't change after they transition.
It doesn't change. It doesn't get any better.
No, there's actually been a lot of people that have transitioned and gone back that I've actually talked to online a couple times, and for numbers and sex, and but no, honestly, like they've reached out because of our show, and they've said, like I had this I had this at 16, I was allowed to have this, and now at 17, like a year later, and now they're 25, 30 years old, and they're advocates against it, but it's because it was a year later they changed their mind and they had a mastectomy,
right?
Stuff like that, and it's kind of sad because I think that both those voices need to be heard,
right?
And not shunned like they're saying something bad. It's like this person lived it and experienced it. They should be allowed to say, like, you can draw your own opinion.
Sure,
that's the part I don't get. So why silence the voice of somebody who's experienced it firsthand?
Right.
Well, and I'm putting this together in my head. I'm thinking through, okay, what if my son has issues when he's 10, 12. God forbid if the public
Don't you put that evil on your offspring. You don't know if he's a son yet.
Well, that's true. The doctor could have made a mistake by saying, hey, you got a penis. You're a son.
Oh,
okay.
boy.
I hit my doctor square in the bum.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right in the kiss.
But walking through that process, yes, parents, I understand that that's a very difficult situation to be in, but parents have gotten to the point where they never want to tell their kids no. They never want to actually parent their children. But it's part of the process that you have to go through, and you have to make sure if you are neutral on this, at the very least, you should make sure they get to a point where they can make good decisions in life. I don't know, like buy a beer, vote, rent a car, those age ranges, something like that, where you can actually go, okay, this wasn't a fad, but here's the thing I'm really not understanding right now. This day and age in school where it's promoted to explore your sexuality, to explore your gender identity, is this really that big of a thing for kids right now? Is this really the hateful environment that they're making it out to be? Where they quote numbers like trans female murder rate for people of color is higher than any other people group, period. I would like to do some research into that and see how they got that number. Is it really?
It's a niche sampling size.
If you're
unless
trans
they were in
right
the Warriors.
now in school, you go do whatever you want.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's like, hey, I would like to buy this beer. I'm sorry, you can't have age. But there's a fake cock attached to it. Right this way.
Right this way. Would you like a Pabst Blue Ribbon? It sucks too.
And by the way, this is a big part of it too, is, feminists. I was just watching the show The Watcher. I think that's what The Watcher, I think it was on Netflix because we were going to review it. So they talk about their daughter, and the dad says, hey, you're not even 16 yet. You shouldn't be wearing lipstick. Or, hey, I can see your bra strap. Be careful the message you're sending out to young men. And the mom says, we were never going to be like this. We said we were going to raise young girls who own their sexuality. And here's something that I wanted to bring up.
Come on.
Is when they say own their sexuality, and this is from feminists, right, is own their sexuality largely meant being as promiscuous as men. And obviously it's backfired. And obviously that is the start of the blurring of gender lines that men and women are the same. But let me ask you this, women, if you're watching right now. How does this pass the sniff test? Yes, I'm owning my sexuality. I'm owning my value, by giving it away. Let's just look at supply and demand. Let's look at basic economics, the concept of scarcity. Is there any other example that you can think of where you increase the value of something by making it more readily available and a greater supply? In other words, how is it that women believe they increased their value by owning their sexuality, which meant giving it away? Well, I'm in charge of it. Well, hold on a second. Unless you're talking about rape, you've always been in charge of it. And by the way, we're all against rape. But the idea of free love and free sex, where else would that increase the value of anything? By giving it away for free.
Yes. Let more men have one-night stands with you. That'll empower you.
Anything. Think about anything. If
doesn't make sense.
If oil was given away for free. Red Bulls. Right? If you ever see the Red Bull girls, they come up, they have their backpack. They go, oh, man, I'm dragging. Oh, thank God, the Red Bulls, they gave it away for free. Now you're not going to buy a Red Bull.
Well, they were trying to seed the market and get you to try before you buy.
Well, yeah, they also throw in some fentanyl, and that's a problem.
Well, that is a problem.
That's a labeling issue.
You see that with cigarettes. Yeah. In bars.
To get you hooked.
And Captain Morgan would do that. Remember Captain Morgan would come into bars?
They would give stuff away for free?
Yeah, they give you shots and stuff.
But just a little bit?
To get just a little bit, but then they charge a premium. Like, and if you'd like more, you have to purchase it here.
And
but
I always did.
You've never increased the value of anything by giving it away for free. We've said this right now is a wrong message to young men and to young women, and it all started by deliberately delivering the wrong message to young women. And then we said women can act like men. And that's one of the greatest, by the way, turns of reverse psychology that I've ever seen. Men were like, don't do that. Don't have sex freely with everyone. You'll be, don't do that. Oh, we won't be able to, you're incredibly valuable. Skunked again.
Don't be just like us.
Here's some cab fare. And we've gone through all this, right? By the way, increased estrogen levels in men, it increases the risk of cancer. Also in women, when we've talked about hormonal replacement therapy in kids, it can increase brain swelling, vision loss, right? There are all kinds of problems. You can go check out the references at louderwithcreditor.com. But now it's being echoed by England's National Health Service. And there's someone from there who just released a statement, the England's National Health Service. They're saying that most children who think they are transgender are, quote, just going through a phase. So the NHS plans to ban puberty blockers.
Yeah. No, and the NHS will now be banned for saying that.
Yes.
From all social media because they know better than the NHS.
Outside of very, very specific clinical trials, are going to ban puberty blockers for minors. They also, the NHS, warned doctors to not encourage children to change their names or pronouns. Here's a quote: social transition, such as changing a young person's name and pronouns, or the way that they dress, is not a, quote, neutral act. Doing so could have significant effects in terms of their psychological functioning. And in case, by the way, you needed any more evidence of the slippery slope, Microsoft has gotten in on that action with their new LGBTQIA plus logo called the Banner of Pride.
Well,
What?
You know they turned off the comments on that, so that
Somebody
people were
throw
bashing it so
some
much.
soup on it.
That's Windows 90. Take a guess.
That's the I don't know how many genders there are flag, so
Right.
we'll just go with, all the colors.
Yeah, exactly. Let's just toss it all in there. How could that be any less relevant to computer software?
It's a kaleidoscope.
Yes.
That's all it is.
It's what Harry was looking through when he was robbing the house. So this is the NHS. What happened to trust the science?
Yeah.
This is why I don't say just trust this scientist. The appeal to authority fallacy is incredibly subversive. Because people go, oh, yeah, okay, Dr. Fauci. I don't know. You assume that you're an idiot, so you assume the people in power know. But what do you do when the people in power, the actual doctors, are saying, you really shouldn't do this? This is bad. And again, this isn't science like Dr. Fauci, when you're talking about the NHS, where they're trying to make a prediction in the absence of information. They are now issuing prescriptions in the face of a preponderance of evidence. Now, all of the evidence that we have points to the fact that it is not only bad for children, but it is deadly for children. Who decided to ignore all of the science that we have available? Again, it's not a hypothesis. It's already been tested. The former Vice President of the United States. He's decided to take it upon himself to fly in the face of science and say, and I'm not kidding, it's the most, no state should have any right to stop parents from telling you can't be on puberty blockers. Hey, that's a slippery slope. Way, way off in the distance. Like Wilson in Castaway. That's where you are. Share the show if you can. Hit the like button. We have to go to Mug Club. I realize we're kind of running late a little bit today. We're going to play They Don't Make Them Like They Used To. And by the way, Walther, sponsor. We're doing a series of commercials here all this week, going up to Halloween. Spooky.
Yeah.
I don't really need to plug them. Just go to your local gun range and try it. Just try it. They have the balls to sponsor this show. No one I know who has tried them hasn't preferred them to the other handguns that they have. That's it.
That's it. Yeah.
They're cool. They're cool. They're exclusive.
And you can protect
They're
yourself
deadly
on Halloween.
They practically sell themselves.
I got 2 golden ones of dragons.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Castor Troy.
Yeah,
okay, you
you're
two,
welcome.
piss off.